Hello and welcome. I am Matt Roddy, and this is the Greater Prescott podcast, where you guessed it, we talk about all things Greater Prescott. In today's episode, I am excited to introduce to you Brianna and Stephen Kinsley. You guys, thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely.
Of course. Yeah.
I am really excited for you to get to know them for numerous reasons. One is you can see where we currently are. Stephen, as you will learn, and his business partner, Michael, are starting a place called The Den AZ. It's going to be a music venue here in Prescott. We'll get more into that. So thanks for letting us use your place.
Of course.
It's a cool little room, nice and cozy.
There's like AC too.
Just what it's built for. So you guys are going to get to learn about their background, where they're born and raised, some of the stuff they did when they were a kid, and then we'll get into talk about their family a little bit. They each have a business. They each wear just a lot of different hats, as you'll learn. They laugh. That's an understatement, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Exactly. And so I'm just excited for you to get to know them, and especially their passion for what they do, and I think your vision for the Greater Prescott area music scene as well. Pretty exciting stuff.
Heck yeah.
All right, so let's dive right in. We'll start with you, Brianna. Just share a little bit of your background. Where were you born and raised? And tell us stuff you did when you were a kid.
Okay, so I was born and raised in Dewey. So, just about 30 minutes from Prescott, but still part of the area. I was homeschooled through 6th grade.
Awesome.
I feel like I had a really solid upbringing. I was really, involved in different things in the community. I did dance lessons.
Nice.
We did Awana. It was just a lot of stuff. We went to
did
Calvary
Awana.
Chapel. Yeah. So we did a lot of stuff in the community. My mom, dad, they've probably been in this area. They lived in different areas, came up from Phoenix.
Okay.
Probably like 30, 40 years that they've been here, maybe
Some
longer.
roots.
So it's like kind of the generational kind of being here. My brother and my sister are here.
Awesome.
So
Okay. So what'd you do when you were a
Local.
kid? I mean, you said you did dance. Did you guys have some property out in Dewey that you had
I think
animals
it
or
was-
anything?
We didn't have animals.
Okay.
It's about a half acre, but we had a view of the mountains. We had a porch, so a lot of that kind of just hanging out on the porch. Sunny Arizona
I love that
life.
porch. It's a great porch.
Are your folks still there?
Yeah, actually.
Awesome.
Yep, and a home my dad, it was a shell when they bought it,
Okay.
and he has built it out. It's a craftsman style home. Super awesome.
It's one of my favorite styles. Yeah. I think people have the wrong assumption about Dewey. It is gorgeous out there, especially when you get into the hills. You kind of don't expect that you get amazing views, and it's really, really pretty. I
Yeah.
totally get the appeal of being out there.
Yeah, yep. They lived on a little hill, and you could look over and you could see Young's Farm. Well, it used to be Young's Farm. Now
Yes.
it's
Mortimer.
Farm. Thank you. And so, kind of just right smack in the this little area where you're on top of the world, feeling a little bit there.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's really nice out there. All right, tell us a little bit about you, Stephen.
Yeah, so I was born in LA, West Covina, and lived there for about a year. This is going to age myself, and everyone hates it when I tell this story because it makes everyone else feel old. But we moved out because of the riots, the Rodney King riots.
Yeah.
And my parents were just sick of it. They woke up the next morning and they couldn't get milk or any groceries, and they were just like, they were already done with LA and California, and they said, we're out of here. We're gonna check out Arizona. So then we moved out to Arizona, to Chino, and grew up there. Went to all the schools there. Went to high school there.
Okay.
Got really into skateboarding. Played a lot of sports. Actually, growing up, I was a big basketball guy. But yeah.
Tell everyone how tall you are, because it's hard to get perspective when you're sitting behind a table.
I feel like I'm not that tall, but 6'2" is how tall I am. Yeah. Yeah,
It's a few inches taller than average.
It's funny though, because oddly enough, like a lot of people recently have been like, they don't realize how tall I am. They're like, oh yeah, I see your pictures, but then that's what you did. So
that's what I did.
That was really, really funny. But
So basketball primarily?
yeah, basketball was my sport growing up. But yeah, I've always been into skating. I've always been into heavier, loud, crazy rock and roll music. Been in and out of bands. Grew up in the music scene out here.
Okay.
kind of the music scene out here.
Yeah.
And I just have always loved, so I play guitar mostly. I do vocals right now for a hardcore band, but growing up, I did guitar and stuff. So big loud amps, sound gear always, around me, and constantly just trying to play shows.
Okay.
So always that loud kid in your neighborhood that made everyone upset and got the police called
on your skateboard.
On my skateboard. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you, because I know a little bit about you, you're musical, correct?
Correct.
How did you get into music?
Yeah.
Things like that.
So when we were, me and my siblings were homeschooled, it was a requirement. We had to pick an instrument. So from a very young age, it was recorder, and then it was piano, and then I was like, I really want to do guitar. And then probably in high school, I thought I really want to, I did, singing in choirs at school and stuff because I did charter schools in junior high, but then I wanted vocal lessons, and so then it was church and singing at church, and it was singing and vocal lessons at the Academy of Performing Arts that was around about 10-ish years ago, and then before then, and so kind of transferred out of some of the dance into more of that music, and we've done worship leading at several churches in the area, even in Washington where we moved back from. And so I've made, we've done a couple of songs. Stephen's helped me record, mix and master them, and they're in iTunes, but no one really, I never promoted it. But it was fun. It was awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So both musical. So you both grew up in this general area.
Yeah.
How did you guys meet? Give us more. The people want to know.
So it's a really funny story. So I was performing.
We can tell a condensed one. But.
I'll tell a condensed one. At the Academy of Performing Arts, he was playing a little, we were both doing some kind of mid-year performance at Christmas time. And I saw him and I thought, hey, that boy's kind of cute. And then we ran into each other in Phoenix at
oddly enough, in Phoenix.
In Phoenix at a music concert. So
she was like, hey, are you that dude that played guitar in that one band? And I was like, yeah, that was me.
And that's basically how we met.
Okay. Yeah.
I think
that's hilarious.
You were like 14.
Because you guys, you didn't, if you grow up in Chino, you're most likely not hanging out with too many people from Dewey.
Yeah, exactly. And we met when we were like 14. So there's that, well, you live, 40 minutes away. There's no cell phones. We're 14 years old. So we lost, we didn't talk a whole bunch, and we kind of forgot about each other. And then our college, right? Yeah, college came back around, and we met back up. And
cool.
Yeah. So
did you guys attend? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say at the Raven. So many local spots right now.
That was our first date. It was coffee, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a great place to have a first date over coffee.
I love the Raven.
It's a great ambiance. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So, did you attend college, either of you?
A little bit.
Yeah, I'm both. Yeah. I have an associate's from Yavapai, and then I transferred to another university. But did the full thing there.
I did a semester, decided that rock and roll was more important.
Absolutely.
I'm
with you.
I dropped out and spent all my money on amps and sound systems and playing in bands.
Yeah.
So.
And not a whole lot's changed, right?
No, and just self-educate and read a lot of books and podcasts, and I'm a firm believer in self-educating. Pretty much, unless you're a doctor, then please go to school.
Could not agree more.
But I just didn't really know. And I don't know if many people know what they want to do when they just go out of high school into college.
Percentage.
So I'm also a firm believer in taking at least 1 to 2 years off to figure that out.
Yeah.
And so once I figured that out, I just dug into, like I said, podcasts and books, and really just found out that I just love business.
Okay.
I just love business, and I just dug into as much as I could learn about that.
That's awesome.
So, anyway.
Which this is going to get us into some of the conversation we're going to have later.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest reasons having these conversations is it really sets the context for what you do right now. There's reasons we all are doing. There's a reason I'm behind the microphone right now. And so by telling that story, it gives the people context, and it also helps individuals to realize, when I did this or when I did that, that's why I now do what I do.
Yeah,
just it's
exactly.
I think perspective is really important.
100%.
So you had your first date at Raven. How long until you were then married, and how long have you guys been married? Just kind of run us through
2 years,
that.
right?
So we dated for 2 years before we got married.
All right.
And then January will be our 8th year anniversary.
Congratulations. Oh, man.
Excited.
And
I love it.
where did you get married?
Calvary Chapel, Prescott.
Okay.
Right off the highway
Yep.
there. Yeah.
Because it was free, right?
Oh, I don't
Or
know.
is it cheap? I don't know.
I grew up in that church, so they were like, we
Yeah.
know your family, and so they're like, come on, have it over here. So that's where it was.
And that's pretty much where we're at. We had a morning wedding. We did not have a reception. We just got married.
No kidding.
We had a
took
donut breakfast bar. Coffee and
got a bunch of
sausages,
presents,
fruit.
got married, and took off.
Sounds like what I would have done if I had my druthers.
It was awesome.
Super laid back. I mean, just
Absolutely, yeah.
okay.
That's our
So
style.
almost 8 years of marriage.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Because Emily and I just had our 10 year, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's just when done the right way, it's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. I love it. I wouldn't do anything else.
Amen. All right, so you guys get married. What are you working? Like, what jobs do you have at that time?
Yeah.
That'll help
So-
continue the context of what you do now.
Yeah, so I actually worked at the Prescott Resort, and I was
yeah.
I was a supervisor at that time. Worked there a little bit before
Okay.
while we were dating and stuff, but I was a supervisor at that time and doing all of their audio. So kind of
Because they have a number of events and
so
seminars
doing
and
the
things like
convention
that.
center.
Conventions,
So
yes.
I was their mostly their morning supervisor for
Okay.
all their banquets, but then I did all of their audio stuff.
Okay.
So that's what I was doing when
Cool.
we first got married. And
That's good experience.
oh yeah, it was great.
And-
It's kind of like how I found out that I really liked the business side of like audio. You know, it's like,
Interesting.
wow, like actually mics are important because
Yeah.
people need to hear you when you speak or,
Yep.
people, so it was just whole like understanding of like, and then meeting other sound guys and other people that, companies coming in from Phoenix and going, oh, like this is my full-time career and I make 6 figures
Yeah.
and it was just like really cool. Like just
Yep.
picking these guys.
And you would
heads.
never have learned that unless you did stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Which is
exactly.
why I go back to like being a learner is so important. You said it. It's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah. So
Cool.
that's what I was doing. What are you doing?
Yeah, what were you doing?
Well, I want to backtrack a little
Yeah.
bit because I was thinking about I transferred from Yavapai College to Azusa Pacific University in Southern California, and I wanted to go for music and then audio engineering.
Okay.
And I worked a job there where we'd help with all the audio stuff, and I think that was a part of, and we were actually long distance dating at that time.
So you were physically out in Azusa?
It was terrible.
But I
Hated
think that's part of where I get my understanding for a lot of what he does is because one, I thought maybe that's a path I would go personally, and then I actually did it and was like, well, this is really cool.
Yeah.
We can kind of speak some of the same language. I understand how necessary it is, and even though that's not something I actually continued for my career, it's like, oh, I get it, and so I can support him better because I think of that.
That's a really good point.
That experience. So what I was doing when we got married, I actually worked at Gurley Street Coffee for a little while.
Okay.
Downtown. That was there before Miss Naturals. And
Oh,
actually
yeah.
maybe a couple things before
Yeah.
that. And then after that, I worked at Precision Spinal Care, which is
Okay.
a chiropractor's office. They're still around. Shout out to them. And so I think what I was feeling that time was, hey, I am picking up on different businesses and what people have going on as just kind of an employee and realizing, oh, they're struggling with this, or people have mentioned this, and I'm trying to figure out, like, my mind is turning about how I can help them with their marketing and their branding. How can I help my employers bring in more clients? Because that's just kind of always the employee that I've been was, hey, how can I make this better for you? And that's actually kind of the beginning of my marketing and branding.
That's
path.
cool how you start to see that stuff from a good old precision spinal job, like you never know.
Yeah.
But it's in a sense, God gives us certain talents and abilities that like you could have been the person sitting in the front office or back office, whatever you were doing, thinking about something completely different. But for some reason you were thinking about the branding, the marketing stuff. I love it. All right. What's next?
I was going to talk about how I felt like I kind of got cursed a little bit.
Okay.
Not cursed, but like as I was doing all this employee work, and I worked with my dad for a little bit, and then we moved and all this stuff. But as I was like getting into, cursed just sounds terrible, by the way. As I was getting into like looking into the business stuff, it just like hit me because like I was working for, gosh, I forgot who I was working for, but I was like I said, I was learning all this business stuff, and then it hit me. I'm like, wow, like employee mindset to business owner mindset, right? And all of a sudden I'm like, okay, yeah, like we made $1,500 on this job. I'm getting paid $12.50 an hour. We worked 8 hours. Wow, I'm only getting 100 and whatever dollars.
Yeah.
Well, this business owner is taking home. You see what I mean? So so that's what I mean by I got like cursed, because I was an employee at the time, doing all this very simple math, going, wow, I'm working so hard, and I'm learning about all this business stuff, which is good, but I'm stuck in these jobs that I can't. There is no room for me to grow.
Yep.
Right. So kind of like what Brianna was saying about how she was sitting there thinking about like all the marketing and the branding and what they could be doing better and this stuff. Like I was doing the same thing, but going, oh my gosh, like I'm doing so much work, getting paid nothing. And if I can just own my own business and do my own thing, like that, yeah, you're not an hourly job, or you're not doing, your work is never, it might not be there that next week or whatever, right? You have to make sure there's work there, but the profit, right, is scalable.
Yeah, the upside is
scalable, right? Yeah. So I was like, wow, I was sitting there just going, wow, like can't do, like I said, doing simple math, going, oh my gosh, like, yeah. So like, yeah, it was just crazy.
Interesting. You thought it was you used the word curse, and you said you probably could find a different word. I would actually say it's a blessing. Yeah, 100%.
Well, I said curse because I'm sitting there stuck.
Yes.
Counting the hours down, going like just literally my I remember telling you like my brain was going to explode because I just couldn't get out. Yeah. Because I had a wife,
of course,
a stay-home wife, and 2 kids at the time, and this and that. Yeah. So yes, I do agree that it was a blessing, but at that time I just felt like it was.
No, we've all had those moments.
Yeah.
Like this is the worst thing that's ever happened, and then 6 or 12 or 2 years later, it's like, oh, that was actually a really good thing.
Yeah.
More perspective.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So.
Okay. So then, at some point, you guys leave the Prescott area. Let's start going there.
Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, you just sprinkled in. You had 2 kids at some point, so you no longer have only 2 kids.
So we had 1 child in Prescott.
Okay.
Before we moved. So in 2014, we had Zeke. Right? Okay. And then we had 2 more kids in Washington.
All right.
So we left like 5 years ago.
Almost.
Yeah, just about 5 years ago, and we moved out to Washington. And it was just literally the reason was we wanted more green and more water in our life, and we both only knew this area and a little bit of California, and we wanted just more, green. Yep. And then also us being musicians, we wanted to be around some type of music culture. So we thought, oh, let's move by Seattle, or let's move to Seattle, and then we realized that holy crud, Seattle is stupid expensive. And then we moved a little bit more north to Bellingham, which is pretty much on the border of Washington, on the border of Canada. Yeah. And loved it there. Okay. I mean, we miss it every day. Like we miss our friends there. Do you want to say anything about it? Like,
so
amazing.
When you guys moved up there, what did you do?
Yeah, so I did a little bit of HVAC work, so heating and cooling work. Okay. And this is where I was kind of learning all this stuff, which I was talking about. And then I did a little bit of recycle, like plant work. So like, crushing cars and moving things around with forklifts and stuff like that. And then that is when I took the leap and went full time after that. So I started my own studio doing mixing and mastering.
Mixing and mastering.
Yeah. So for bands, for audio, and mostly in the heavier genres of music.
Okay.
And so that's what I did. And then, what'd you do?
So I think we were living in a little town a little bit north of Bellingham called Ferndale.
Yeah, we were.
Okay. And it was just me and Ezekiel, and I was feeling like, okay, I'm spending a lot of time, just have one kid, but what can I do from home as a mom, because I didn't want to have to send him away to daycare. We didn't have family. We didn't have a lot of friends at the time. So I thought, what can I start learning about that I could do at home? And I've always loved photography.
Okay. And
that's kind of where my wheels started spinning about that. Like, hey, I already know some, but I could start teaching myself a lot more. I could practice on my kid. And that's just what I started doing.
Okay.
And, from there it branched off to just some of our family friends. I did some weddings. That was kind of the basic thing that we did as far as that goes. And then we moved to Bellingham, city proper. And I was still doing the photography, but we were going to a really great church called The Bridge.
Awesome.
And we started leading their worship team up there.
Okay.
And we did that for a couple of years. And that in itself was just a really great opportunity. I mean, to serve people, but also to learn how to grow teams, how to communicate with people, especially when they're not getting paid. How do you treat people? How do you, stay organized and communicate with all these people in different areas and how people learn
not
things.
To burn out.
Exactly. So it was kind of a lot of team building and learning how to, be leaders.
Take care of people.
How to be leaders and serve people in that capacity without, you're not their boss. They're not getting paid, so you have to completely kind of.
And even if they were getting paid, they still require being respected.
Well, right.
Interesting. What can you think of any takeaways from that experience that you're like something that just really crystallized in terms of maybe being a leader, or things you enjoyed about it? Or just I don't know.
Also, kind of a backish point or whatever. So we've both, led worship at so many churches, like at least 5 or 6 churches.
Okay.
So we kind of had experience going into that. But I think, honestly, personally, especially because we did it together, I think The Bridge was like, it was the most fun that I had. Like, it was the most fulfilling, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, takeaway that you.
I think for me, it was a lot of, because we had led worship with teams, but it wasn't quite, it was learning, you have a lot of people with different ideas and a lot of people that have a lot of skills and talents, and you're trying to, I think what I learned, or my takeaway from it, was how can I utilize people's skills in a way that makes sense, and how can we kind of bridge gaps between maybe someone that has a different style. You know how in churches, this person has this style, this person has this style, and there's different levels, and you go, how can we make everyone work together in a community rather than this is what we're going to do because we decided.
Right, so now you do it too.
Right, so it's kind of making it all work together so everyone feels seen and heard, and like they have a place.
Yep.
So.
I was a big opportunity guy too, so I wanted to give people opportunity. So again, churches, it's mostly volunteer based.
Yes.
And I just wanted people to feel comfortable, and if they didn't know, if they were an expert at their instrument, or if they weren't, I just wanted them to feel welcomed. And I did a lot of the helping out with drums and bass and guitar, and I did a lot of that. She did a lot of the vocals and stuff like that. But I just wanted the people to have opportunity to play, and just building people up. There's nothing better than just watching, and it's this whole analogy that I heard from someone a long time ago that I can't even give them the recognition because I just forgot. But it's the whole thing of that they would rather have someone not as good at an instrument and then can kind of smooth them out, or not as good at their instrument, but they're a great person. Right. Or someone that is really good at their instrument and they don't show up on time and they're complete trash or whatever, Yep. And it's the whole just being able to smooth the stone out or whatever.
Yep.
He said it better, but
It was Jesse Reeves.
Oh, wow. Do you remember exactly what it was?
He was it was a worship conference. So Jesse Reeves is the bass player who has played with Chris Tomlin for years and years and years. He's gone on tours with him.
Written a lot of his songs as well.
Yeah, he was doing a worship conference. There's a lot of funny connections that we have with our pastor up there, Pastor Brian, who's awesome. But anyway, he came and he was just talking about smoothing out the stone. Talking about David and Goliath and how David, had little stones from a river that he used, and it was like, but he's like, those stones, they were polished by the river. They were aerodynamic and useful, and he's like, it's better to pick up a rock and make it smooth than to try to use something that
doesn't fit right.
It's
not designed for it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would imagine most employers would much rather have that person who's not quite as skillful as someone else, but just has a great attitude, lots of energy, is willing to learn, and that you can help, and that is willing.
And we found that early on in that church, is that a lot of the people that were there before us that were very good at their craft ended up leaving because that was our mindset of, we're not going to play you every week. We want to like build people up and have this team, not just this one person who's really good. And that's just something that, I took away from that. And
cool. I'm huge on culture, company culture, primarily in business. Like, it is a big deal. And so to be a good leader is really challenging, to take people who, some people are better at things than other people, and some people don't have as good of attitudes as other people. But how can you bring people together to get the worship music done or the job done and things like that? It's not an easy thing.
I think another thing that really went home with me is that the idea that, we're talking about leadership. So the idea that you have to be able to have that balance of telling people, no, hey, that actually isn't going to work. We're not going to go that direction, which a lot of people, they want to give an input for something, and then they don't want to hear no. They're like, oh, I had a really great idea, but you have to say no sometimes, but being able to do it without putting people down. I think that was a really important.
Well, especially in a church format too, because a church format, so like everything's welcome. Everything, we did never make anybody feel stupid or anything, but we were really like, no, like, this is our vision. Like, our vision is this, and we're going to do whatever we can to get to that. That's a good idea. Maybe we can put that over here for right now. And it was hard not to hurt people's feelings.
It is.
And stuff. But we had a great team up there, and I miss the old pastor Brian, and then JJ, or the new pastor that came in, and their families so much. So
what an awesome experience.
Oh, it was great. It was nothing but good.
I'm so glad you guys did it.
Yeah.
There was a moment of before, because we did it for about a couple of years. There's a moment of, are we going to do this? And it was there's not really anyone else to do it, so maybe we should, kind of like, we'll just do it because there's no one else. In terms
of being music leaders?
For the church, right. It was like, should we be doing this? And then it was like, well, there's no one else, and they need help, but you know what? Like, let's just do it, and kind of just jumped in, and kind of never looked back.
It was good though. It was really good. Okay. It was a great time.
So you're working full time doing the audio production stuff?
At that time, I was doing that. And then, when you first, and we were just talking about this before all the cameras and stuff, but when you first go full time, like, you still need that like side job, right? So I was doing technically the studio full time, but then I was doing little jobs with actually our pastor at the time. His name's JJ, like I was just talking about, but he's an arborist.
Oh yeah.
So arborist and a pastor, and was a pro snowboarder back in the day, and he was just like the coolest dude. He'd be like 150 feet up in the air in a tree cutting it down, and so I helped him feed the chipper and stuff, just like pretty much like, hey, can you do today at 2? Or hey, can you and that's kind of what I needed, was not like an 8 to 5.
Correct.
I just needed like
to be flexible.
And sometimes it was a full week, sometimes it was once in 2 weeks, and it was like perfect.
That's where it came in.
So I was doing that full time and still doing like little things, side jobs and stuff like that. But
so then you move back to where we are now, to the Prescott area. Tell us about that.
September.
So
almost a year ago, you pulled the trigger and moved back.
Yeah, so my mother-in-law showed me a picture yesterday and said, hey, we took this picture in Bellingham a year ago, and it was our 3 little kids sitting in the empty U-Haul, like, that's smiling,
depressing.
So I was like, oh, wow, it's been a year, and he actually got to Arizona September 1st.
Okay.
So in my mind, that's like the date I have, you know, but.
Well, you guys flew out 3 days before that.
We flew out. So he drove the big
old
truck
that's
here.
what we did from Chicago. I drove it from Chicago
we
to
took
Phoenix
our time too. We had a lot of traffic, had a lot of bad accidents, and just took our time. My dad and I.
Gotcha. So why did you move back?
So, you know, we both we're on the same page, but I'm going to talk from my perspective. I just felt like, you know, I love the Pacific Northwest. It's like my dream place. Like, it's like my happy place. Like, I just love it. But I kind of felt like, hey, both of our parents are in Arizona in the same area. And my brother and my sister are there with their kids. And it was like they're having this whole other life, like, together. Yeah. You know, and all the kids are growing up and they're graduating from kindergarten. And I'm like, they're sending me pictures. And I'm like, wow, I could be there and be a part of all that. But we're not. And I kind of just felt like I was trading a view for people. And so we thought we should go back so our kids can have their grandparents in their life. Yep. You know, and grow up with that and that support and that, you know, emotional and character
everything
input
that comes with it.
Right. Yeah. So that was a major part of why we came back.
Super side note, the camera just died. I don't know if it stopped recording. Mine did.
Your camera?
Yeah. Huh. I don't know if you edit these things or not, but
no. Okay. I haven't edited one yet.
Okay, so this is going to be in the podcast?
That'll be in the podcast.
Okay,
Hey-yo.
Sweet.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess let's just
camera number 2 may have died. No big deal. Camera number 1 still got a light on it, so we're rolling.
My bad. Okay, where were we at?
Yeah. So she just gave, you know, how come you guys moved back, and you were on the same page.
Oh yeah,
albeit a challenging decision nonetheless.
I remember she brought it up to me, and I was upset, but like I loved it there. Yep. You know, I felt like we were finally getting to the point where we were like, you know, we had a strong group of friends, and we had a strong church.
It takes time to do all that, and you're like, oh, now we're gonna go.
And like, you know, we didn't have any family out there, and 3 kids, and so we were finally like building all this stuff up, right? And so we just, so I remember being upset, but then I remember like thinking about it and praying about it and going like, yeah, like, of course, like I want because like we didn't grow up around grandparents, like all my family's in California. Oh yeah. You know, it's not that far away, but still like you can only go to California. It's far away. Yeah. You can only visit 8 hours away, like only so many times a year, right? It takes a lot. And so the idea of just raising our kids around their grandparents was just kind of like that was the game changer. Yep. Even though that place was just everything we wanted, we just, so
almost everything you wanted.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I know.
Right?
It's hard.
And we felt the tug from God too. Like we prayed about it and prayed about it and prayed about it and prayed about it. And then,
there you go.
And oddly enough, to kind of say this, and then we can talk about it later or whatever, but like 2 years before we moved, I was like, I forget exactly where we were, but I was like, you know, it'd be really cool if we ever moved back to Prescott for whatever reason. It'd be really cool to open up a venue. And then boom, it was gone. And then we just lived our life, and that was it. Okay. And then 2 years later, roughly around then, I don't remember exactly when I said that, like we moved back to Arizona. Okay. So now you're back in Arizona, and you've got 3 children. So currently, how old are the kiddos? So Ezekiel's almost 6. Okay. Deer will be 4, and Lydia just turned 2. All right. So, and you're full-time stay home? Yeah, I stay home with them basically all day. I mean, there's a few times, you know, I do photo shoots and things, but most of the time I am with the kids. You're a full-time mama. Okay. All right. So she really downplayed that, by the way. I know. Well, most moms do. For some reason. I mean, like to even do a part-time business and have kids, like, so that means you're working in nap times and you're working at, you know, I was just going to get into that. Yeah, that's what I'm. Sorry, I just I see all the stuff she does, and I'm blown away because when I come home from work, I know it's different, you know, whatever, but like I'm just like I don't want to do it. I just want to stare at the wall, you know, like I'm exhausted. So I know, Mom, God gave you moms the most amazing heart and coffee definitely helps. Heart is pretty big too. Yeah. Let's dive into what you guys currently do. We'll start with you, Brianna. So you've talked about some of the marketing, branding, photography. Bring that all together and tell people about what you do right now. Okay, so I am a branding photographer for female entrepreneurs, and I am focusing on hair salons and hairstylists. Okay. Kind of the beauty brands.
And not just with photos, not just with branding photos, but kind of having a full package for them so that they get the branding strategy. Because if you're going to take a good photo, you want it to have purpose. And then once you have the good photo, now what do you do with that? Because it's also not useful if it just sits on Instagram and no one knows it's there. So, hey, if someone needed help, how can you market yourself? So it's kind of a little branding, photo, marketing package.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, anytime you say the word marketing, I always want people to say, like, what do you mean? Because there's so many facets. And you can't do everything. And so what are those high level things that you can do? You either have the time to do, the finances to do, and start doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So then run us through just a little bit. Let's get into a little more specifics, meaning we've got a hair salon that wants to work with you. Where do you start? Let's go there.
So I find that a lot of people are on all kinds of different levels. Some people have, a salon that I've recently worked with, is Culture Salon, and the owner, Lindsay, is awesome. And she has a lot of education that she saw on her own.
Okay.
And
in marketing education?
In marketing and business, there is a lot of that. I find that, the hairstylist, there's a lot of people who are wanting to educate and wanting to grow. And there are already some people that have programs. But I think that there's still sometimes that piece of the puzzle where you need a sounding board. You need like a person to sit down with you and actually talk things over, because it's one thing to hear someone, you're watching a video, you're reading a book, you're getting this input, but then you go, what do I do with this? And so part of what I do is sit down and say, hey, do you need help finding, do you have color palettes? Who are you? What's your why? What are some of these foundational things? Some people have it, some people don't. What do you want to do with your photos? What's your message? What's your vision? How are you trying to reach people? And then I think that my main reason, let's just use the hair salons, for example, is that I find that people need ideas, like how, and they need someone to take a photo of them. And that's a major part of branding photography. It's like you can take photos with your phone, or you can take photos of your clients, but if you want to be in the photo looking natural, just in your work, having that other person who's like has that eye, who can catch the light right, who gets your smile right when you're doing it, it's like having that person there for you is awesome. And then getting that bank of photos. So I'm obviously I'm a mom, so what I even do for myself is I do basically all my own branding photos, and it's like I have a bank of photos that I can schedule. And so it's kind of a time saver. There's a lot of little facets. But anyway, so we go through strategy, we take the photos, and then they have a bank of photos that they can, we can go through how to schedule them on an app or whatever, where they can actually connect with their audience and not just through, one singular type of photo, but having different things so they can show who their business is. Not just, hey, I'm a hairstylist, or I do fashion, or I'm a blogger, whatever. It's like, how are you that way?
Right.
What makes your business your business? What's the DNA that you want people to look at and go, oh my gosh, I connect with you on that level. I see you. And a lot of it too is a comfort thing of like, you want your audience to be able to look at whatever you're doing and go, I see myself in what you're doing. And when I interact with you, I already feel like I have interacted with you. Because in our day and age, everything being online, it's like sometimes there's that barrier of like
our day and age. I just love it. Our day and age.
You have to bridge the gap.
It's the truth.
I'm over here maybe doing my thing in either my brick and mortar or my home, and maybe we're going to meet somewhere down the line, but I need you to know who I am before we ever even think about meeting. That's kind of how our
one of the things I hear you
works.
saying, and one of the biggest frustrations in terms of a social media thing, is if I go to someone's page, let's just take a hairstylist, and all I see are photos of the hair that they have done.
Me too. Yeah.
Now, let's just also, most businesses on social are like this. It's a restaurant, and all I see are photos of their food.
Yeah.
It's a realtor, all I see are photos of houses. I don't know who they are. I don't know what they're about. I have no idea if they have kids. Like I have no way to connect with them.
Yep.
And to me, So what you're speaking to is taking that example and kind of turning it on its head and saying, hey, I'm Matt Roddy and I do hairstyles and this is why I love it. And just so much more personal where you can connect with me, where before you come in, you kind of know who I am. And it's an amazing tool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Man, good. Yeah, it's and you, when you guys came over for dinner, you mentioned that a lot of people are simply just uncomfortable with it.
Yeah,
because it gets personal.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, I mean, I kind of include myself in this too, but we have a message of what we want to do and who we are, and it's actually really, really, really good.
Yes.
And it's powerful and it's unique, and people, it's almost like people are craving that thing, your passion, and then it's like somehow, because I think it is as a point of vulnerability of what if I have this passion and I tell people and they don't connect, they don't like it, doesn't hit, then I'm going to feel bad about me. But a lot of the time it's like people are going to, you know, and so I've told people, hey, you just, whatever you have, one, you can show it, that's absolutely part of it, but some of it you just need to tell people. You need to write it out. You need to put it on a website. You need to just straight up tell people, this is why I do what I do. This is the experience I want to give people, because people can't read our minds.
Right.
And they, you know, we think that's, we think, our passion is being communicated. Look at how great my craft is. But then people are, it's almost like they're guessing, well, you do really good. You must be passionate, but they don't know why it should actually matter to them. So I think helping people clarify that, and then giving, almost, it's like I'm just like the coach. I'm like, just do it. You could do it. You could tell people.
I agree. I think if someone were going to go to, let's call it 10 Instagram pages for 10 stylists, and 9 of them simply have photos of hair that they've done, and that 10th one is like, hey, here's why I do what I do. Here's why I'm passionate. And of course they have photos of the hair that they do. You have something to connect with. Like, you have a reason.
You're going to go to them.
Or you have a reason not to connect with them, because we don't all connect with everyone.
Right.
And that's great. That's even better, frankly. So yeah, I get really passionate about that too, because people need to connect with someone. Most hairstylists, or a lot of them, are very good. A lot of realtors are very good. But why should I choose you? That's always my thing. I don't know anything about you. Why should I choose you?
Exactly.
That's exciting. Are you finding it, do you enjoy doing it?
I love it.
That's
I mean,
so cool.
I think we're talking about our journeys in our life and all these things that we've done. And I think that a lot, I am a very, I don't even know if it's an introverted person. I'm kind of like in between, but I do like to reflect a lot. And so I have looked at my life in the past and I've gone, wow, if I didn't take that step and I didn't work there, even though it seemed really meaningless at the time, it's like, if I didn't do that. So kind of seeing all these steps in our lives and putting them together and going, actually, you know what's funny? I was thinking about this. I'm like, before I chose, I'm going to go to Azusa Pacific to do audio, you know, my parents were like, you need to pick a job that can, you know, make you some income or whatever. And music wasn't, you know, in their minds, they're like, you can't make money in music, which you can, you know, just depends on what avenue you choose. But I was like, you know what? I love hair. I'm going to be a hairstylist. And my dad was like, are you really sure? And I was like, well, no, I really want to do music. But it was this passion that I have. So I thought, oh, well, you know what? I have this passion. I thought maybe I would do. And then kind of now, you know, and then you add the photography, and then you kind of bounce around and what do you like in that? What do you not like? And then you go, okay. And then you see needs, you know, you kind of do the marketing and branding, and you see needs and places where people need help, and you kind of just package it all together. And I think that's kind of where I'm at right now, of like, wow,
awesome. I
see a need, I see things that I enjoy in different avenues and how I can do them different. Because there's a lot of photographers in the world. That's one thing, is I like totally stalk people on Instagram or Facebook or online, and I look at their stuff, and I feel like from a photographer's, you know, perspective, and this applies to any business, is a lot of businesses have an issue finding a niche, and I totally struggled with this, and he's actually really helped me. He's like my business coach. We're like always talking about business, but we have a really hard time niching because we think if I niche so finely, I'm going to exclude people. But if you're niching in a place that actually has a need, it's almost like the deeper you go, the better. And so,
amen.
So for a while, you know, for myself and other photographers, a lot of times it's, I'm going to do weddings and I'm going to do maternity and families and graduation. I'm going to do all these things. And even from like knowing photography, I look at pages and I go, but what do you really do? What's your specialty?
Yep.
And some people have gotten really good at it. So for me, I thought, I don't want to just do brand photos. I've done photos for bloggers and, little shops in town. And I love that. I love working with anybody. But when it comes down to it, it's like I see a need and I want to help people and be specific here. Because if I do that, I can help a lot more people by getting super specific on it. So.
Yeah, and I would say as soon as you do get specific and you start seeing success, that you can actually then branch out from that if you want, because you've got a foundation. Whereas if you don't really know what you're good at, where do you even begin? So that's it.
Well, I think people are so afraid of niching because it's that whole thing of, well, this is what I'm going to do forever, right? But I mean, she's even seeing it right now where she'll do hair salon stuff, but then those people will hire her to also do their family photos.
Oh.
So it's like, it's the whole thing of like, you're going to niche to a specific audience or a specific age group, but you're still going to get other age groups.
Totally.
But you're talking, because you can't talk to everyone.
Exactly.
But you're talking to a specific person. People will relate, but it's specifically to that niche.
Yep.
So people get really freaked out by it, but it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I recommend you need some niche. If someone asks me what they should, find a niche. You can always expand later, but you have to start somewhere.
Oh yeah. And
so you might as well start with something really small in this case, or one thing you're good at, and then you can branch out.
And I think tip, for anyone that's listening or watching is if you have, you're wondering if I have a niche and I have all these other jobs, maybe I'm getting that aren't connected. What do I do with those other jobs? Is, to be honest, you don't have to post about them, or you don't have to put them on your website. You can have them, you can absolutely serve those people just the same as you would everyone else, but you can say, hey, I'm going to post the jobs that I are the exact reflection of what I have. And if you're not there yet and that's all you have is the other ones to show, hey, that you're good at whatever you do, you actually have some type of expertise, absolutely start with what you have. Absolutely. But once you kind of get to that point, it's like, hey, post what you want to come back at you.
Yep.
Or you shift your niche.
Or that.
You could.
I mean, sometimes your clients will tell you what you should actually be doing.
Totally.
I want to do this really bad, but I'm getting all these jobs over here. So
which started with you, frankly, just starting. I think that's where a lot of people, and you guys may have struggled with that too, just starting with something instead of theorizing about it for weeks and months. Just start it, guys. And then you'll start to see things develop. But if you never do anything.
And I saw it specifically in a friend. So he's out in Nashville. He wants to do heavier music recording studio. But all these indie guys were coming to him. So indie artists, right? So he's like, well, I'm just going to niche towards indie. And he's just killing it.
Yeah.
So also he's in Nashville. So indie country, that's what you do.
Okay. Yeah, no, but I mean, it's a good point that sometimes what you thought maybe you were good at, or maybe you're still good at it, but it just so happens there's a market for something a little bit different. So being willing to pivot. You're not completely blowing things up.
Yep.
I like that word, pivot.
Pivot. It's a great word.
It's a great word, especially in business.
Yes.
Actually, you need, and I would say you need to be quick to pivot at times. It's another topic
for generations, and Fortune 500 companies have been around forever. They're stuck in their same. Well, they should pivot to the future. Yeah.
So, agree. What do you do now? We've talked about what Brianna does.
Yeah. So I do a number of different things. Okay. First thing is my studio. It's called Virgil's Sound Den, and Virgil's is a number of different things. First and foremost, it's a studio.
Okay.
Mixing, mastering, recording. And then the other side, it's educational.
Okay.
So I teach people how to record, mix, and master. And then I help bands grow to achieve their goals and whatever they want to do as far as career-wise.
Okay.
And then, do you want me to go in depth with that, or do you?
Yeah, actually, why don't you? Because I don't really know what all that is.
Yeah, so
I don't even really know what mixing and mastering is. I mean, I've heard it, but
Well, so when I first started in Washington, Virgil Soundin, it was a mixing and mastering studio. Okay. That's it. And the reason why is because I'm huge on pain points. So like my car needs gas. I need to go get gas, right? So business 101 is fulfill a need. Yep. If you can't fulfill a need, then your business isn't going to thrive, right? So pain points. So my thing that I noticed in the music world is that plugins and recording software and, mics and recording, interfaces and all this stuff were surprisingly the cheapest it's ever been, ever. And so I was realizing that all these bands that I was talking to and friends and me, myself, we were recording our own bands instead of going to studios. Okay. So studios were closing down left and right. But what was happening is that there was this quality dip. So people were putting out a bunch of music, but so recording is capturing sound like we're doing here. Mixing is where you're specifically looking at each individual instrument. So your kick, your snare, your guitar, your bass, your vocals, and making the individual quality points, right? And then mastering is an overall track quality boost. Okay. Right. So there's more. That's the short version, right? And so I realized that in the music industry that there was this dip of there was no more quality because people were just recording, skipping the editing, skipping the mixing, skipping the mastering, and just putting out music.
Getting it out. Okay.
So I went, okay, well, I'm just gonna start. People can send me their tracks from all over the world via Dropbox or Google Drive, and then I can mix it, master it, send it back to them. And so that's what I figured out. Okay. And it worked. It wasn't as fast as I wanted it to, like nothing else is, you know what I mean? But I did that for a while, and I got to work with some people from all over the world, in Australia and Texas, and Florida and New York, and in Washington and Arizona, like everywhere. And I still do that a little bit here and there and whatnot. And then so that's mixing and mastering. Okay. And then as far as all the educational stuff goes, again, I just love business, and I found a gap in the industry that like these bands were having 2 or 3 practices and then going, oh well, sweet, now if you can only get signed, then we can have a career at this, then we can quit our day jobs, then we can do all this stuff. And I was going, no, like why would you want to get signed right now? Because your band, which I always call businesses, by the way, on my podcast that I used to run, and then my YouTube channel, is that bands don't look at their bands as businesses. They look at them as, I don't know what they look at them as, but like, so start looking at your band as a business, because if you build your business to be desirable, when you go to a label, aka a bank, right, to get a loan, that's all a label is, then your interest rate, if you have a desirable business, right, your interest rate will be down low. You'll get more money, you'll get more of a deal, right? And so I just started telling these stuff to bands. And I had a podcast for a while, and it did really well. And so I started doing that with educational stuff, and then pretty much anytime anyone would come into my studio or on YouTube, I have a couple of videos that just went crazy, not viral, but has a bunch of views and stuff on them. But it was the educational of the DAW, which is my recording software that I use. Just how to do little things. We've all been on YouTube. How do you do this in Photoshop, or how do you? So mine was in Logic Pro X. Okay. And so with that, I've had branding deals and stuff with other companies, and had people sponsor my YouTube channel and my podcast, and so I did that with Virgil's, and Virgil's is still alive and well and doing pretty good and stuff, but I'm definitely focusing on the more internet-based educational side of things. I'll still do jobs every now and then, but I'm so busy right now with what's behind me and all the educational stuff that I give quotes out, but they're not as cheap as I used to be, right? Because time, that's great. Because time is money. So that's great. So I still get them every now and then, but I'm really, really focused on the den and stuff and educational stuff.
Right. Well, you said it, so start telling the people about it. Where are we? What are you doing here?
The Den is it's a coffee house music venue with some skating elements to it as well. I mean, the city's calling it a mini skate park, so we'll just call it that.
That's hilarious.
But like in my eyes, growing up skating, like this is not a skate park. We're gonna have a big old half pipe in the in the backyard, pretty much. So it's myself and my business partner, Michael. We are doing this. And so we've had the building now for 7 months, and we've been building out and had crazy ups and downs and architect issues and all this crazy stuff. And of course, the pandemic, Corona, right? If someone told me that in 2020, when you wanted to do your dream and start a music venue coffee house, that a pandemic would happen, I probably wouldn't have done this. But we're here and we're pushing through it. And we aren't open yet. I will say, if you are interested in finding out more about it, go visit the .com, which is www.thedenaz.com.
Okay.
And then follow us on all of our social platforms. We are releasing a Kickstarter mid-October, right, to help out with funding and all that stuff. So pay attention to that. We want to get the community involved, and you will see us online. We'll be, yes, I love marketing. I love branding. So you will see us, but follow us on social and, Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and stuff like that.
Awesome.
But yeah, like I said, it's a coffee house, music venue, and pretty much my heart for this town. I grew up here. I grew up wanting a music scene. That's another reason why we moved away, is because I wanted the music scene to just be in. And there was, if anyone's, grew up here and did anything with music, there's been little things like the Monday Club and, like Calavera. You remember that? Yeah, the little venue. But it was never done, as legit as we needed. There was fire code regulations, or was this?
Yeah.
Or someone would get hurt, and then the fire marshal would come in and be like, "What are you doing in here?
Yep.
Here's your fine. Here's your list of stuff that needs to be approved, right, to get back up to business." And no one would do it. That was that. And it makes sense because there is a legal aspect of it, right?
Yes.
And so that's something that has been a bummer for me, and especially growing up when I was 16 and 17 and even younger, wanting to go to shows and not just, and that's the thing, is people go, "Oh, there's music in Prescott." And I would disagree, because yes, there's music in Prescott, but there's nowhere to play. So the Elks Theater, they're so funded up the wazoo that they don't need to do shows.
Right.
They can do shows whenever they want, once a month, once every 6 months, and they can be what they want.
Correct.
So because they're so funded, they don't have to pay bills, And the same thing with yes, there is music at the Raven. Yes, there is music at Matt's and, the Birdcage and Lizards and stuff like that, but it's not focused on it. They're not focusing on the music side. They're focusing on the wine, the beer, or the coffee, and they're going, "We're this," and then we kind of have a stage, which is a totally fine business model.
Absolutely.
And I love all those places. I'm not saying anything bad against them. I'm just saying that our focus is music.
Yes.
But we're also going to have some awesome coffee, right? And then, our goal is we want to do two to three shows from either local, so a week, and then either local or touring acts coming through.
Yep.
So, and that's what I've been doing the past however many years I've been doing in the music industry stuff, is that I've been gaining all of these contacts from all over the coast to, going in a little bit east as well. And so, yeah, just really focusing on what we want to do, obviously open mics and, events and concerts and just all this rad stuff. So, but the music scene here, and just making it thrive and just growing it, right?
Yep.
In all ages too. We threw around it for a little bit about getting a beer and wine license, just because the profit margin is just, it's insane. If anyone's ever worked in a bar or done any of the books, it's insane. Yeah. But as of right now, we can't afford that because they're very expensive. But we are going to strictly focus on families, that your all ages crew is safe here. And if you're over 21 and you want a beer and stuff, that's fine, but you can still come here and hang out.
Yeah. Yeah. There's places they can go.
But they're still welcomed here, obviously. And our coffee is amazing. And, maybe one of these days we can do a beer and wine license and tag all the overage people and stuff. But anyways, that's the Den. That's our vision. Awesome. And yeah, Michael and I, we just love coffee. We love music and we love skating. And I wanted to just bring that to this town, because this town doesn't have anything like that.
Right.
And again, a pain point. So I'm a 16-year-old kid who wants to be out past, 8 o'clock or 6 o'clock, and everything closes at 5 in Prescott. It's a ghost town here. And I really just want to see a band, a hip hop artist, a hardcore band, a metal artist, whatever, indie, you know, on a Tuesday.
Yep.
And I would love to, or on a Friday, and I would just love to go there.
Yep.
You know, so.
And have a safe, comfortable place to hang out.
Yeah.
And have a coffee.
Yeah. And that was another thing as well, is like pain point, right? Like, yes, our kids aren't to the age where they can go do that stuff. But I remember, you know, like wanting to go do things. And that was my first question from my parents is, well, is it safe? And I respected them because I appreciated that they wanted me to be safe. So that's another one of our focuses, is that we want your kids to be safe. You know, there's only so much that we can do as business owners, because once they leave the doors, like, you know what I mean? And this is not a babysitting place. Like, we're not going to check your kids in and give them a tag and then you have to, you know, check them out. Like, we're not going to do that, but we are going to enforce, you know, the legal, you know, the legal stuff. Like, you cannot smoke a cigarette if you're under, you know, 18. Like, we're not going to do that here. I'm sorry, you know? So anyways, we just wanted to be safe, and
that's awesome. Yeah. So ever since you told me that vision month or 6 weeks ago, I've just been so excited about what you guys, and you're included in this, you know, just the vision you have for the Den. And I think the opportunity that is here in the area to have people of all ages to come to a music venue, to come grab a coffee in a safe, fun, amazing environment. I think I'm just really excited for it.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy too, because doing the research that Michael and I have been doing, right? Because if you're going to start a business, or even if you started the business, you should still do research and figure out where your clientele is, your niche on your age group, all that stuff. But we've been pulling all these, you know, statistics from the Chamber of Commerce and whatnot about age groups here. And I grew up going, oh, this is an R&R town, so it's a rehab and a retiree town, right? Well, we just found out that it was like 46% of people that live in this town are from, I think it was like 34, 32 and lower.
Okay.
So like that is our age group. And again, nothing against the older age group. You guys have the Raven, and you guys have really cool things you can go drink and glass of wine.
Absolutely.
You know, our young kids that grow up and move away like we did, you know, they move away from our amazing town. And again, we want to give them a place to actually stay and actually be here. And also another thing that I forgot about, but me being different and wanting a different career in audio, I never had a place to go, you know, internet. You know, I never had a place to get behind an actual mixing board instead of like.
What a cool idea.
So like, and there's all these sound guys actually that have already approached me, and that I've approached, that are so excited to have another stream of income. Either they're working at a bar doing sound, or they're not working in sound at all, and they just want to pick up a shift. Like, it would make their whole life if they could just pick up one audio gig that's not in Phoenix.
Yes.
And so it's going to be really cool, just you know, from that aspect as well, to give people job opportunity and experience if they do decide to go to Phoenix. And also these bands that get chewed up and spit out when they go to LA or Phoenix, they're actually going to now have experience how to do backlining on stage, how to do a proper sound check, how to be respectful to a sound guy, because if you're not, guess who controls your sound? Who's going to make you sound right? Who's going to make you sound really good or really bad? It's the sound guy, right? Or talking to a booking agent, right? Like, I'm going to do all your booking. You know what an EPK is? You know, it's pretty much your resume for a band.
Okay.
Right. I've done this. Let us play. Right. So, but a lot of bands don't know that because they've never played in a professional venue. So just excited.
That's awesome.
Just very excited, and I cannot wait.
Good. Well, whenever you do open, you and Michael and I will do another podcast where we can dive more into the Den, the whole coffee, music, skate vision for this place. I know I'm super excited.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got young kids. My oldest is only almost 8. And it's like, I cannot wait for him to have a place like the Den to come to that I know is safe and is going to be a good environment for him.
And you can get a cup of coffee and chill.
Exactly.
It's
going to be a place that people can come and bring their laptop and work as well. And just wait till you guys see the place. You guys have done awesome work already.
Thank you.
Can't wait till you open.
Yeah.
Can I chime in real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we talk about something else. So I know he's talking a lot about, you know, him growing up here and music and kids and all this opportunity. So growing up here myself, I was, you know, the 13, 14-year-old girl going to some of these shows in places that weren't, you know, some of them were run really well. Some of them are at some of the churches down here in downtown Prescott. But, you know, that was always the question my mom and dad would ask me too. Is it safe? You know, what are the bands playing? And a lot of times it actually really wasn't safe.
What a shocker.
You know what I mean? And you're like, oh yeah, it's safer than you get there. And you're like, oh my gosh, actually it's not. But what do I tell my mom and dad? If I say this, they're not going to let me come back. And I, you know, at that time when I was about 14, 15, I was like, I'm learning to sing. You know, I have my acoustic guitar. I wanted a place to play. We did a couple open mic nights at Method, but it all felt like if I wanted to move on and go to Phoenix or LA, that was really scary. Right. And so to have that as an opportunity, I think that's a big part of our heart, is how we really want to support our community of artists. Not just the younger, you know, people like opposing, saying that, oh, you can only be, you know, a kid and have dreams, but anyone who has a dream or goal, it's like we want them to have a place. You know, there's people that are, you know, do stand-up comedy. They're like, we don't have a place where people want us to come. Like, we have an awesome little stage
Just
here.
wait.
You can
got
go,
a couple stages
you know,
here. I mean, it's amazing.
And also, he didn't mention it, but a big part of our heart too is some of the alternative arts that don't always maybe get featured some of the places. We know a lot of the tattoo artists here who have amazing watercolor paintings. Someone, I really sorry I don't remember his name, but he does pinstriping.
Oh, Alex Hansen. Hansen?
I think so.
For
Hansen.
what?
You need to have him on the podcast. I can reach out to him for you. He does professional pinstriping for all the hot rods around here. So on the cars, talk about an entrepreneur. He started when he was like 14 or 15, pinstriping on these guys' like $100,000 cars. Oh yeah. He is amazing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So just the idea of supporting our community, and it's not just, hey, we're here to have concerts.
Sorry,
and have coffee.
Alex Hamilton, not Hanson. Hamilton. It just hit me. Keep on going.
But yeah, just that idea of drawing people in, and we want to have food trucks, and just this really exciting thing where there's a place for people to plug in where they maybe didn't have that opportunity before because they're like, well, where do I show up? How do I do this? And touching on the subject you mentioned, people moving away from this town, is I've, you know, talked to lots of different people running businesses in the town, and we're starting to, I think, see a trend of people coming back, or people coming from California that are like the family age, maybe 25 to 35, 40, that age coming here. But I think for us, like that is, we moved away because as a college student age, you know, when we were 21, 22, we were like, there's nothing here for us. We've lived here our whole life, there's nothing here. And I think it's exciting to me because I am starting to see a trend of people opening up new things. And that's part of our kind of, we're like, we're just going to keep going with that. We're going to be part of that movement to make sure that Prescott is it is an amazing place, but it stays an amazing place for us, for our friends, for our kids, that it's not stagnant. There's fun, safe, amazing opportunities for all ages.
And also really quick, something I forgot to talk about is if you are thinking about starting a business too as well, anyone out there, the tourism part of this town is crazy. So we just got stats back again from the Chamber of Commerce or whatever, but one of the big numbers that we were like, holy crap, that's insane, is even during the quarantine, you know, COVID and stuff, we still are getting 36,000 people a month traveling, you know, to Prescott. So just hanging out, doing whatever, you know, hitting up Frozen Franny's because why not? It's right there. It's amazing. So anyways, the stats are there, and people love this town.
And I'm sorry, I have one more thought. It just keeps bouncing off. It just keeps getting more ideas.
This is how we do.
But, you know, thinking about running a business in Prescott area and the tourism aspect is, I think some people actually really, really downplay that idea. And my thing, I'm just going to make an example of, say you have a shop, and you know, maybe you're like doing pretty good because you're downtown and you get a lot of foot traffic. I'm always the person, I go, well, why just be okay at whatever you're doing? Why not go, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make sure my website is awesome. It looks like someone's website from New York or wherever these big cities where they have, you know, this level of
expertise
or whatever.
Quality,
Quality. Yeah. Why not have it be there? Why not attract people when they're coming from Phoenix and Scottsdale and Flagstaff and California for the weekend? They don't just happen to walk by my shop and maybe stop in. They come because of my shop.
It's a destination.
You're a salon.
Could not agree more.
People leave Prescott to go to Phoenix to get their hair done. Why?
Yeah.
There are so many people here that are amazing, but people go, well, their website didn't speak to me. Their Instagram and Facebook were kind of and I connected with someone somewhere else. So I would rather drive an hour and a half, 2 hours to get my hair done, to go to a show, it's like, why not bring it here? Why not make our town, it's already a destination. We love Prescott. Prescott is an amazing place, but why not go, hey, that's what's happening already, and I'm just going to raise the bar even more and sell my clothes online. I know a lot of people during COVID, it almost like forced them to do that, but it's like, just keep writing 100%. That. Just keep going and keep attracting people and kind of making maybe that part of your business strategy.
Good point.
Heck yeah.
It's a lot of opportunity here.
There really is.
Yeah. And that's not coming from an angle where I'm trying to get as much as I can. We have the greater Prescott area is a great area with a lot of opportunity. You just got to be willing to search it out and learn. And I feel like that's a lot of what you guys have talked about, is just being willing to learn and being willing to grow. And here you guys are doing what you're doing because of that.
Yeah.
So I just want to encourage people, do it. Take the leap. That's it. And it is scary.
Pivot.
Oh.
Yeah.
There you go.
Pivot what you were doing into something new.
Yeah, totally.
Sorry.
No. Couple more things as we close up. Just speak to living in the greater Prescott area. I don't know how much you guys are able to take in the outdoors and just things like that, but just speak to some of those things that you do enjoy in the area.
Absolutely. So I think growing up, I took the area for granted. Totally. My mom would be like, we're going to go have a picnic at Coldwater Lake. And I'd be like, sweet. And then she'd be like, we're going to walk around. I'm like, oh my God. But I think now I'm like, wow, there's some really, it's very dynamic here. In a lot of other places they have like one type of thing, you have forest and that's about it. Or you have the beach and that's like about it, but here we have water, granted not as much as some places, but we have several lakes, we have hiking, we have different types of mountains. You can go to the forest, you can go to the plains, so something that, our kids are really little, so we can't, going out
it's more challenging to get out.
For a lot of things, it's like, well, we can only go out for a little bit, but we love the trails. Our kids love being outside. To be honest, we frequent Frozen Franny's a lot because that's like our kids like, can we get ice cream, please?
Same with my kids. A shout out to Frozen Franny's. Like they're
killing it.
Talk about during COVID. I swear that line on that sidewalk every time we drive by is like 5 or 10 deep.
Oh, yeah.
And
all the time.
Them and Joe, dude.
Heck yeah.
Them and Joe.
Yeah.
So we've been trying to do a lot of gluten-free things for multiple reasons, but they are one of the only places that we found that's accessible and our kids love it, but also sells gluten-free goodies like a chocolate chip cookie that's really good or a brownie, something that's accessible.
Yeah, but what did they call it? So we do a chocolate chip cookie or a brownie. And then we put it in a bowl, and then they heat it up, and they put a thing of ice cream on it. So it's called
a pizookie.
Pizookie.
So you can get one of their cookies and get ice cream.
Have you never had like an unofficial pizookie? Basically, like a little cast. Okay, so like take a cast iron skillet, but a little smaller, and they put the cookie dough in there, and they shove it in the oven, and they cook it. So like the edges are nice and crispy, but the middle's maybe a tad doughy, and then they put scoops of ice cream on it. Then they bring it out, and like, oh,
my life's terrible.
Talk about trouble. You have been sheltered. Pizookies, man.
That's awesome.
When done the right way.
Okay.
They're good.
But yeah, just hanging out downtown around the square too. Growing up, it was always something that we just did. You just go hang out downtown. But it's like, actually, it's really cool. Being away from something that was like, they had a downtown in Bellingham, but it wasn't the same atmosphere. So be able to come and just like let your kids run around and, not feel like, and to feel safe.
Correct.
And like everyone is just there to have a good time. And that's a really unique thing, I think.
It is. Mm-hmm. That's what we did last night. walked around the square, and the kids ran around like crazy. And there's a peace in my heart that I have that things are probably going to be okay. I mean, just that it's a safe environment on the whole. That's really nice. Yeah. What do you like to do in the area?
I mean, pretty much everything Brianna said, but I think what I want to touch on real quick is just like the people that are here as well. So like we'll be walking around downtown and just getting in the conversation. They're just friendly, or like our dudes over at Holdfast. Like they're just like, there's so many nice people here. And it is funny, like living in kind of a biggish city town, whereas like there wasn't a lot of people that would wave back at you. And so like, it sounds like such a dumb, like small town thing, but I freaking love it. And then on top of it, like the trails, and I seriously keep on like, I'm like, I just need to get a bike and just go and hit the trails, because it's something I've wanted to do for a long time. And you can get a pretty cost effective, a pretty nice bike for like, $500-600. Anyways,
we have world-class mountain biking here.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
We have a lot of world-class things here. It's really,
isn't it funny?
Such a unique thing.
Yeah. So, anyways,
awesome. It's funny. Again, I grew up in Tucson. I took everything for granted. And now when I go back and visit my mom, I'm like, I actually really like this town. I mean, I don't live there for a reason. I like Prescott better, but it's like, oh, I get why people like it here, and when I was growing up, I just didn't care. I didn't know.
Yeah.
But when you move away, you get perspective, and
right.
I think we grew up a lot too. And then we come back, with perspective and value changes, right? Obviously, we had kids and stuff, so we love it here.
Cool. Yeah. Well, pretty much everything that you guys shared about what you like here is what my other guests say. It's what Emily and I say, and it's what makes the area just really special.
Yeah.
I hope we can keep it this way for a long time, because it is very unique and special.
Yeah.
It really is.
All right. We are going to wrap things up with a rapid fire question section. So I'm going to ask you 7 questions, and I need you guys to answer as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Both of us answer the same question? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Are you ready?
No,
okay.
Yes. Possibly.
What's your favorite restaurant in Greater Prescott?
Liquor Deli.
Same.
What's the number one thing on your Greater Prescott bucket list?
I want to go swimming in that watering hole that you always talk about. I don't know where it is though, or
it's off of Ponderosa.
Ponderosa watering hole. I really want to do that.
You know what? I just really want to stay in some of the Airbnbs here.
Oh, they're so cute, right? Like well decorated and things like that. Yeah. Without kids, right? I mean, like just you and Steven.
Yes, there's some really cute ones.
Yeah.
Yes.
Totally.
Yes.
Who's your favorite all-time artist?
I would have to say, all the dudes at freaking Holdfast Tattoo, but I would have to say Tony.
Okay.
Tony from Holdfast. Yeah, amazing tattoo artist.
I want you to answer that, but I don't know what kind of artist necessarily, because I was thinking more music, but it doesn't matter. I mean, an artist is who's your favorite artist?
Like music?
Or
anybody? Okay, let's just say a lot of what we pay attention to is music. So I would probably say of all times is honestly probably Josh Garrels.
Wait, in this town though?
In this town? Has been in this town?
No, sorry.
Generalized.
Yeah.
Oh.
Josh Garrels.
Can I re-answer?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, you said Josh Garrels?
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably Every Time I Die or Norma Jean. Yeah. I just gave 2. Sorry.
You can give that's great.
They're amazing. Check them out.
Okay. If you weren't doing what you're currently doing, then what would you be doing?
I probably would be doing some type of like metal fabrication. So my dad does. Maybe working with some type of like 4-wheel drive stuff.
Yeah.
But I love welding.
Okay.
I love working with
my dad
hands.
was a fabricator by trade.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I wish I would have learned it.
Oh, it's so fun. I want to do more of it. So hopefully one of these days I can have a nice shop and stuff and do that.
That's what you need.
I'd probably be doing something in like the health, wellness, beauty kind of aspect.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see that.
Fitness and eating right and good products to use and kind of that stuff.
Okay. What's your favorite summer activity in Greater Prescott?
wearing shorts.
Oh my gosh. My favorite activity in the summertime, to be honest, I guess it's kind of specific, but I really like to just sit by, like, let's say granite, in front of Granite Mountain, like a really pretty landscape, and just kind of listen to the cicadas. And usually there is some kind of rain cloud in the distance. It's just really pretty.
I like water, so do my kids, and I know a lot of the lakes out here, like, you have to take showers after and stagnant and all that stuff, but we try to get in the water as much as we can. So like Granite Basin, I think is okay. So we, like, you know, just like knee high, just like crawl around and stuff in there. And yeah, that's like one of my favorite things. Water.
Yeah. Okay.
Need it.
What are 3 words to describe living in Greater Prescott?
I would say safe. Trying to narrow it down to 3 words. Safe, friendly, cozy, maybe.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Interesting. Yeah, cozy's a good one. Yeah, friendly.
Yeah. I think friendly is the most answered.
Yeah.
Because we are very friendly.
I love it. I think it's cool.
I love being able to say hey to people that I don't know, and they all of a sudden you're 10 minutes into a conversation like, wait, this is so fun.
It's like one of my favorite things, and I don't know what it
agree.
was about the Pacific Northwest, if it was like this whole like subdued thing.
Yeah.
Man, people did not like talking. And then you found that person that did, and you're just like 2 hours later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last question. What's your favorite thing about the Greater Prescott area?
You know, this is kind of funny, but I was thinking I really like Christmas time around Prescott, and I think that obviously it's called like the Christmas City. But I think growing up, actually, I have a very strong, like, I don't even know what you call it, but very strong idea about Christmas that is very, I mean, obviously it's about Jesus, but about community. I mean, there's Ackerfest that happens around that time. Just it does feel very warm and exciting, and kind of that like little kid, like it's Christmas time and we're gonna sing jingle bells and sing, you know, get hot chocolate. It's like that idea, I feel like, actually really solidified like a really good positive message in me, because of just how Prescott is. And so it's kind of a funny answer maybe, but like that's one of my favorite things, is just Christmas time in the city. I think it's really special. Really cool. Yeah.
I think it's kind of like what you said earlier about how there's like so many like what was it? There was like big things, or like how there's like some of the best like trails here.
Yeah,
we
like just have biking. Some world class.
Yeah, so world class, like, and that like people love coming to this town. Like everyone wants to, like I always talk about, everyone wants to come play a show here, but there's nowhere to play. Well, everyone just loves coming here. Yeah, like from Phoenix and California, like everywhere. So I think that is really cool. Like we live here. We don't have to vacation here. Right. We don't have to escape the city. Like this is where we live. So if we want to go on a trail or go to Granite Basin or come to the square or get frozen frannies, like this is where we live. So
well said. All right. Tell people how they can get in contact with you. Then you tell the camera, tell the people.
Okay, so if you want to get a hold of me, you can check out my website. It's briannakinsley.com. And if you want to follow me on any of my socials, I'm currently only on Instagram and Facebook. I have a Twitter, but I don't really use it. That's at Brianna Kinsley Photography. And if you are an avid email user and you just want to email me, it's briannakinsleyphotography@gmail.com.
Simple.
Yep.
Cool. So Virgil's Sound Den for everything. So that's Instagram, YouTube, my website, virgilsoundden.com. If you want to email me, it's Steven@virgilsoundden.com. So Steven with a V. And then the Den, that tag right there, at the Den AZ, everywhere, YouTube, Instagram. And then my email for that is Steven@the-Den-AZ. And again, I cannot reiterate about the Den. It's Kickstarter that's coming up. It's gonna, again, like the reason why we're doing that is because we want the city's pretty much we've been getting a lot of like, how can we help? Yeah. And the city wants to be involved. So we're going, well, if you want to be involved, like one, you're going to like get a lot of really cool things. Like I'm so excited about it, but also you can be involved in the Den and making it come to life. Yep. So yeah, awesome. Check it out.
You guys, thank you very much for your time. I had a blast talking branding, business, Washington State, a lot of stuff. Did you guys have fun?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was super fun.
It is fun. I look forward to doing another podcast with you and Michael as well when the den opens, and we can just dive more into that, and just really excited for the vision that you have for it. And if you guys have any questions for Brianna, please contact her. Full of awesome creative ideas on how to improve your business. And especially if you're a female entrepreneur, she's the one to go to. Anything audio, I don't know about anything audio related, but you're a great resource for audio things. So please contact Steven if you have any questions. Anything else you guys need to mention?
Thank you. Yeah,
absolutely.
Thanks
I really appreciate
us.
Your time. Thanks for those who are watching, all of our children.
True.
Yeah, it's true. We can't make things like this happen. So you guys, thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.